He's back. Halloween! Released in 2018 and is directed by David Gordon Green, who has also directed such films like Pineapple Express, Snow Angels, Our Brand is Crisis, and this brand new Halloween trilogy. And this brand new Halloween trilogy that comes to an end, because it says so in the title this week, Halloween Ends, comes out this week, so I thought, oh, I better watch this entire brand new Halloween Michael Myers trilogy. And this film is starring Jamie Lee Curtis reprising her role from the original 1978 version, Judy Greer, who obviously does not want to be there, Andy Matichak, Will Patton, and Virginia Gardner. It's been 40 years since the terrible events of Haddonfield in 1978, when a madman by the name of Michael Myers went around and killed like a handful of people. And on this day, Michael Myers is being transferred to a different lockdown psychiatric facility and shockingly somehow escapes during the transit. So now Michael Myers is back on a warpath this Halloween night. Thankfully, Laurie, who was the sole survivor from the events 40 years ago, has been prepping and making herself a badass ever since. So now she is about to relearn just how hard it is to kill Michael Myers. Now, I have only watched the original 1978 John Carpenter film. I have not watched Halloween 2. I guess Halloween 3 wasn't about Michael Myers at all. It was about witches. But then they brought back Michael Myers and made like 20 more different movies. Apparently, from my understanding, this new Halloween trilogy completely erases all of those except for the very first one. Which you gotta love it when these companies make these decisions, when they have a built-up franchise to just completely erase it all and start all over and just reboot the franchise. Not reboot it completely though, like we still have the original, you know, the one that everyone loved, but all the sequels everyone didn't care about. So we're just gonna get rid of those, and we still have the original, which is great, and then we're just gonna do new sequels today that are based on that one from the one movie that we all liked, remember? Okay, so we don't need to be hating on all these other sequels because we're just following the original one that we all liked. Remember that one? I love fandoms, they're great. But I feel like this is the franchise that I could get back into because I haven't seen any of those sequels and it's very taxing for me to go back and watch every single sequel that happened to the original Halloween. Now I can just sit back and go like, oh, I've seen the original, so I can get involved in this new trilogy. That's cool. And I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised and happy with the similar styles that were done from the original 1978 version and to this version. This felt like an upscale indie horror film like the original one did. Many of the kills that Michael Myers does happen like off screen or around a corner, and the camera follows just a couple of seconds behind, so when we come into the room we see the aftermath of the murder that Michael just did. I like stuff like that. It's little camera tricks to save on special effects and budgeting. This film is getting back to its indie roots, and I appreciate it. I also appreciate that they brought back the original cast, and when I say original cast, I mean it's Jamie Lee Curtis. I feel like she came back, though, for a couple other sequels, and wasn't like the Halloween 2, didn't that reveal like she's his sister somehow? But now that one's out of the picture, like she's not his sister anymore. That's gotta be fun as an actor. Developing this character one way, and then 40 years later being told, hey, you know that character that you created and have this whole backstory on? Well, we're only gonna take like a fraction of it, and then we're gonna take it and move it over here. Could you redo that, please? That's just freaking great, but I'm sure the paycheck was worth it. She's an executive producer on this film, so she got paid, and I'm happy for her because this whole film was made famous because of her. And I think she does a pretty good job of this really mental patient in her own right. Maybe she's not part of a psychiatric ward like Michael Myers, but she's in her own lockdown cabin in the woods with fences and a whole artillery in her basement. Like, she's ready. She's like, it's gonna happen again. He's gonna come back and we're taking him out. She's definitely the shining star of this movie, and I'm glad to see her back, and I think she does a good job. I will also say kudos to this film for giving me teenager characters that I don't absolutely hate or that I want to die. Like, the majority of the teenagers in this film, I'm like, oh, okay, you're actually a pretty good person. Other than the boyfriend who kisses another girl at the dance, he's a dick. And then the best friend who's walking her home but then doesn't read the signals correctly and goes in for a kiss when she's at her most vulnerable after she breaks up with her boyfriend. What a fucking asshole. I'm taking it back now. There are a couple of asshole teenagers in this movie. That's okay, they get what they deserve. There is a short little moment in here at the beginning of the movie. The teenagers are walking down the street and one of them calls out the Michael Myers event where he killed like 5 people, and one of them's like, okay, so we live in a world where, you know, so much shit's going on. There's so many like violent shootings everywhere where like there's 30, 50 people and bombs that go off that kill hundreds of people in major cities. Here, you know, a guy went around with a knife and killed like 5 people. I mean, like on a scale, I mean, it's how big of a deal is it? And that is a great philosophical question. When does the loss of life become a big deal? 1 person? 2 people? 5? 10? Need 100 people for it to be an incident? How many lives do you need? The film builds to a nice all-out brawl between Michael Myers and Laurie, and the home invasion aspect in the end, the darkness, the flashlight on the shotgun, Laurie trying to find him in her house. All great moments and all great sequence, and I loved it. The pacing leading up to that climax, though, feels very slow. It feels very stretched out. It's a while before really any major events start happening. Because they're trying to establish these new characters, Laurie had a daughter, and then her daughter had a daughter, and the original daughter, you know, had a terrible life because all she learned was fighting and combat, and then when she was adult, she's like, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want my daughter to have that, so we're not going to do that anymore. But the granddaughter now wants to have a life and a relationship with Laurie, so that's happening, and it's all just kind of like mixed signals. And then there's Judy Greer, whose performance is one of the worst I've ever seen in the history of movies that I've watched. It's clear to me that she absolutely 100% does not want to be there. And that's not from a character standpoint. Like, the character is definitely annoyed with her mother, with Laurie. I get that. But just watching Greer on screen, like, she doesn't want to be there. She's doing this for the paycheck, and she's definitely clocking out the second that the cameras turn off. She is not having a good time at all, and when actors don't have a good time on screen, how do you expect the audience to have a good time? But I guess she's gonna be in the sequel, Halloween Kills, which I'll talk about next time, so yay, maybe her attitude changes. Halloween was actually a surprising film. Pacing was a little off, but it's a nice horror monster, supernatural monster, whatever this guy is, or maybe he's not that anymore, because again, the whole franchise is deleted. He's not a mystical creature that is always like reborn, or whatever I don't know. I don't know Michael Myers at all. I just seen the original, but it was a nice return to form to what this character is and what this whole universe is, and I'm excited to see where it goes in Halloween Kills, and then when Halloween ends. I'm gonna give Halloween 3.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I am above average.
So guys, have you seen Halloween? What did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you all the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time with my review of Halloween Kills. So in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.